Bet online is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports contests and events with first to market odds and lines. Now, find reviews and news for every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. Bet Online continues to be the top online resource for all sports information from live in game betting props and futures. Head to Bet Online today or use your mobile device to join today and make your first sports bet. Now, use our promo code BLEAV50 to receive your 50%. Welcome your bonus on your first deposit. Now, Bet Online is where the game starts.
What's going on, Bills Mafia? Welcome to another episode of Believe in Bills. We've got another great episode for you. Today is the big day. We got the pregame today between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills. I'm Justice General Rafford, and I got two legends with me, as always. Of course, we got the legendary coach, sports writer, sports director. He does it all. We got Muki in the building. How you doing today, Muki?
I'm doing good, man. It's game day, man. We already know what time it is today, baby.
Absolutely. And then, of course, we got the legendary Hall of Famer himself, Mr. Ruben Brown. What's going on, Rube? How you doing today, man?
I'm excited. I'm up early. It's game day. You know, it's like I'm ready to go play the game.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a huge game today. We wish we had you out there, Rube. That'd be a little bit easier for us if we had a Hall of Fame guard out there, so it's all good. But of course, today's episode is presented by Bet Online, and we got kickoff today. A pretty. I mean, we all know about Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, what they can do, right? Mm-hmm. Who is the biggest non-quarterback factor in today's game, Muki?
I'm going to say Mr. Unbothered, Jordan Phillips, number 97. Here's a guy again. You know, when you look at the past, so like he didn't get a chance to get involved in this newfound rivalry, whatever people want to call it. Didn't play. You know, he left right after that Houston debacle in Houston, the playoff game in Houston when the Bills should have won that one. So he ended up leaving, going to Arizona, got his back. So he's unfamiliar with this. And guess another guy who unfamiliar. Patrick Mahomes is unfamiliar because now when he steps up in the pocket, he's thinking that style of toilet paper and my boy Horrible Harry is still there. They're not there no more. It's Ed Oliver, it's Jordan Phillips, it's Daquan Jones, guys that's going to be in his grill. He's not going to be able to step up in the pocket due to that fact. And guy is 6'6", 340 pounds in the motor like a Maybach. I'm telling you now, it's going to be a big X factor. Not only that, but in the run game as well. And those are two key areas where the Bills were actually lacking versus Kansas City. Get pressure on the quarterback on third down and shutting down the run. Now, because of Jordan Phillips, those numbers has changed. And Von Miller, too.
Yeah, we got us a nice little defensive line, and that's definitely going to be one of the stories of today's game. And Jordan Phillips just brings a certain energy. Like, every time you go out there, he's hyping up the crowd, stuffing, the gaps and everything. He does everything he's supposed to do at a high level. What about you, Rube? Who do you think is the biggest non-quarterback factor in today's game?
My biggest non-quarterback factor in this game is going to be none other than Gabriel Davis. All right. Now let's check this out. All the talk is about Kansas City losing Tyreek Hill. In my book, Gabriel Davis is Tyreek Hill. He could get behind the defense. He could take the top off of it. He can break them. And is he not the receiver in the league now with the most yard after catch or something? He's got a really high stat once catching the ball and yardage. Just simple. He's catching a lot of deep balls. He's catching the ball behind the defense, behind the safeties and such. So Gabriel, they've been finding him. He's been picking up steam the last few games. So I would think this game right here is really his coming out game and showing that he's a serious weapon alongside Diggs on Buffalo Bills offense.
Yeah, I mean, if you take a look at what Gabriel Davis has done in the past time they played the Kansas City Chiefs, he had 200 yards plus, he had 4 touchdowns, and he absolutely chopped up that defense. He made one cornerback explode on the 4th and
Yeah.
13 that, he kept them in the game late there in the game. And then last week, of course, he had 170 plus yards, 2 touchdowns on only 3 receptions.
Right.
What can Gabriel Davis do in today's game versus 2 rookie cornerbacks?
You just said it. You just said it. 2 rookie cornerbacks against a guy that could take the top off the defense. So, I mean, just those matchups and where he's going to make it difficult on those guys. These are young kids coming out here trying to, get the excitement, and the excitement and the fanfare in Kansas City is in their favor, but we have some experienced route runners out there, guys that can go up and battle for the ball, and a quarterback's going to put it on them in places where the receiver's going to be able to make a play on the ball. I would say it's a lot on these young DBs to face this matchup. You're not just facing Josh or Diggs, then Gabe comes through there. That offense in period, what they're going to have to, what they're working on to study and be prepared for all the different things that the Bills offense itself can throw at you. And then you turn around and here's Gabe Davis running all around here. I mean, we're getting a few other guys healthy. Isn't not supposed to be in the game?
Yep.
He's healthy. Our roster, health-wise, looks better than theirs because we only have one guy out and one questionable, which I'm sure they're probably leaning more towards playing, and they've got like 4 guys out, like short out, and 2 questionable. So all that's in our favor.
The question,
yeah.
The questionable guy is Jordan Phillips, and best believe Jordan Phillips is going to play in this game because Jordan Phillips is from Kansas, so he's going to have a lot of family members there. And I went right into the locker room this week, and I got right at him, and I had to talk to him about that. And he said, "Man, I got I'm from Kansas City. I got 30 something people coming, so I don't want to hear the shit talk for 365 days. So." I'm gonna be the one talking shit. Or
I'll tell you the real reason why he don't want to hear no shit talk is because when you're a player, you got to pay for the tickets. You don't want to have to pay for the tickets and lose the damn game. At least you pay for the tickets and we win the game and everything. So I know when I saw him as questionable, I was like, yeah, questionable. He going out there. He gonna be out there come Sunday.
For sure. He's going to be out there. And that's the extra incentive for him to go out and be the X factor. When you got all your family members, Chief fans, because, you're from Kansas, and you playing for the opposite team. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, Moot, I'm going to tell you right now, they may have grown up Chiefs fans, but today they Bills fans. Because
the conversion continues.
Their baby boy is playing for the Bills. So they changing that over real quick. And a lot of teams try to play that, oh, well, we're going to stay die hard. I grew up Cowboy fan. My brother was Washington. And my dad used to, those boys, as soon as we played for whatever team, that's the jersey you saw in the house. Everything else went out.
So. All right, guys.
We'll see Dallas next year, Rube. Thanksgiving.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it.
Thanksgiving too. Again.
Jordan Phillips and Gabriel Davis are huge parts of the Bills' success, and will be huge parts of today's game. And so we're going to start getting into the flow of the game. That was kickoff. Now we get into the first quarter. Muki, I want to ask you this especially because you talk to the players, you have a relationship with the coaches and the GMs, etc. Should 13 seconds or is 13 seconds used as a motivating factor in the Buffalo Bills locker room?
Well, yeah. Why not? You know what I mean? I mean, they experienced it, so they know how they felt. After that game, they know how they felt after they lost to them, and the divisional playoff game, and the AFC Championship game as well. So, yeah, you want to use all that as motivation. You know what I mean? If whatever you got to do to get your mind right, to get yourself locked in, yeah, you make all of it motivation. But I mean, make it motivation because you have to win every week though. And that's clearly like the Bills mindset. They got the burn it all mentality, and they've shown that they really is over it. But I know deep down in their mind that 13 seconds is they want to get back at that team. Like you lose the team in 13 seconds, you want to get back out there right away. You know what I'm saying? So I know that they want, that part of it is where the 13-second factor lies. But as far as them harping on it, being mentally screwed up about it, no, they're over it. Is from that perspective, they're over that point. But yeah, this is all of that for motivation to beat Kansas City today. You know what I mean? My English teacher that I didn't like is motivation. You know what I mean, for me to go out and destroy Kansas City. Like, yes, yeah, all that stuff is a factor when it comes to the mental part of the game, and I know Ruben can attest to that. You know what I mean? Yeah, you make reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Rube, speaking of, looking at your career, if you lost a tough game to a team in the previous season, did you guys use that as motivation going forward if you were to see that team sometime in the near future?
Partly. It depends on how much of the team is back together. A good portion of this Bills team, is back together, and they can all, recall that memory together, and so it's easier to, have look over at Josh and Dawkins, look at each other and be like, yeah, we ain't gonna let that happen again, because they were together doing that. Now, where you start getting intellectual about it is you break the game down frame by frame like you always do as a coach, and you pick out the plays that were good and say, hey, look, we did this well and we want to continue to do this well. And then you pull out the things that went wrong and you say, hey, these are the things that contributed to our loss. So we're gonna hone our skills on these areas so they're not a factor anymore. Turning the ball over and things like that. You're always working on that. That's not something you got to bring up. But the 13 seconds, like that's going to be in our rundown each week. We're going to keep it as a memory. We're going to next time that comes up, we ready. Why? Because we've already came victim to it before. It's a teaching tool, and we can pass it on for years to come. Just like the Music City throwback. Everybody, don't stay in your lanes when you run down on kickoff. Don't get out of your lanes because stuff like that can happen. So smart coaches or frame it just right for the team in order for them to be motivated in the proper way. And the teammates, the guys, the camaraderie they have, they'll playfully be ready to, like, all right, no, we ain't gonna go out like that this time. It's all good for the Buffalo Bills with the team that they have.
Yeah, I mean, things are definitely different this year. 13 seconds, and the whole second half period had a large part to do with a certain player who we'll get into later in the show.
But before you go on, Justice, I say it probably gets under the team's skin more when people like Muki bring it up to Leslie Frazier about his coverage in that time frame, the defensive play call that he was making at that time. So
Sure
that's
did.
probably the only thing that really get under their skin. Other than that, I'm sure they got the eye of the tiger, right, Mook?
Oh yeah, they definitely got the eye of the tiger this week. Because I mean, at the end of the day, coach, soon as season started, he said, "Man, the route to get to a Super Bowl is okay. You want to get in the playoffs. They did that. Now it's about having home field advantage. They do believe that having home field advantage is the easiest route to the Super Bowl. So this is those type of football games. So I get it. The next game is the best games. Your next game and all that stuff. They say it all the time. They PR'd up real well, but you know that this is a game they got circled on the calendar for just that. Those are the games that's just a must-win game, to put yourself in the driver's seat for, home field advantage, because we know that the Kansas Cities and the Baltimores are not going to lose to a lot of teams. You know what I mean? So these are
Right.
definitely what we call quality wins. And the Bills, this is a must-win for the Bills today.
Oh, interesting. Must win. All right, I'm gonna come back to that. I'm gonna circle back to that.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get into the second quarter, and of course, we know that the Bills, they had an injury list that was quite extensive. Come Monday of this past week, and Mook, actually, I want to ask you a question real quick, Mookie. When we look at that injury list as fans of the team, in my head, something says that feels like tactical, right? It feels like we don't want them to quite know where we stand in terms of who's going to play, who's not going to play. How much of that goes into what is put on the injury list from teams?
Man, I asked Coach McDermott that same question because how do you like really juggle this roster but yet still remain consistent in areas, within the scheme and stuff like that. So, it starts from Brandon Beane first. When he gets that injury report, he gets to, he knows the extensive of those injuries to the point where if I got to elevate a guy from the practice squad, or I got to go get another guy from another team, and they got to do this stuff real quick. You know what I mean? So, um, man, we just let you know that the Bills have quality depth out there. Whenever you can not play 7 starters like on your defense or whatever, and still go out there and win 38-3, that's just a testament to how they do things strategically and their coaching staff on getting those guys ready and prepared to go out and play at a high level. Such rapid pace. It's going to happen again today, but by the looks of things, they put guys out just for this game. You know what I mean? So yeah, everything's a full go. Jordan Poyer, those guys are gonna go. Tremaine Edmonds are gonna go. Von Miller, Jordan Phillips, Ed Oliver. It's all goes
Okay.
at 4:30.
All right, fair enough. Okay, so now we get into the original question. Just how dominant can a healthy, you mentioned how, you have certain guys out, you got to bring guys up, you got to play backups, and we still are blowing teams out. So how scary, how dominant can a healthy Buffalo Bills team actually be?
Bad. A team that probably won't lose a game. When Tre'Davious White come back, let's not forget they do have Xavier Rhodes out here. So now you got Xavier Rhodes, Tre'Davious White, Christian Benford, Dane Jackson, and Kyer Elam. Those are 6 dog ass receivers. Cornerbacks. So I don't know. Maybe trade deadline. Somebody may move. Somebody may not move. You know what I mean? Possibility of OBJ coming here late in November. You know what I mean? So, all that stuff is going to stack up and those guys will be healthy at the right time. And teams are having difficulties now with, these teams not even playing together yet. So, of course, a healthy team is just it's inevitable Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. We have a healthy team today, and we're facing the cream of the crop in the Kansas City Chiefs. So we'll see what that looks like on the field. Rue, when you look at a dominant team, right, and you've played for dominant teams, and when guys weren't quite healthy, when those guys came back, how much of a factor were those guys, making their return to the team?
A healthy team is almost an unbeatable team because of the grind of the NFL schedule. That's why each week is such a big week, guys. It's unlike baseball and basketball where you can build up the drama. Every week is the drama because almost every play guys can be hurt. And a lot of guys in the course of a game, they get banged up. And so they might seem like they're healthy, but they got a little limp, or they can't rotate their shoulder all the way a certain way, or we'll start looking at the D linemen and see how they tape up all them hands, how their hands are all taped up and everything like that. So everyone's working with a degree of some type of ailment, but a healthy team is going to trump all these other teams all the time. Because if you banged up, you putting in your third, your second, and your third and your second going against. And I could tell you, my hand could be taped fully up. I'm a first. you're gonna catch hell against me. All right. You can take both my hands. I'm a first. And you better have another first over there before some damage come my way. Other than that, everybody else gonna catch hell. So your second and your thirds are gonna catch hell. And the Bills are playing with a majority of their ones. And that right there, and the longer you play those ones together, whether they're banged up or not, they learn to grit it out. I mean, the grimy game they played in Miami may have bonded them more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna look back on that and see how much that bonded them through that grinding game. So show how tough everybody was, that they still fighting, and guys will play if they got a hangnail, they ain't coming out the game. You're gonna have to drag me out, or I'm gonna have to be halfway dead for you pulling me out of this game. And so our team being healthy lends so much more momentum in their favor. So much easier for the coaches to coach, because the coaches know their ones better than their twos. The twos, you kind of hoping, I don't know. Yeah, we might come along later. Yeah, that's what like, yeah, I hope he come along. Your one is there because, yeah, I know. Rube, we gonna pull the trap and he gonna open it up for us. All right. And now, who else out there where I got to worry about? So that's really the gist of the long conversation. It's like your ones, as long as you can get as many as your ones out there as possible, healthy, that can go out and compete, you're gonna be fine.
And the Bills are coming in with most of their ones, the only exceptions being obviously Micah Hyde, who we won't see for the rest of the season, and Tre'Davious White, who we will see back in a few weeks. But one that is coming back healthy that I think is pretty damn important is Jordan Poyer. Muki, can you just tell us about the importance that Jordan Poyer presents to this defense and to this league best secondary?
Well, I mean, how vital he is. He's the one that knows the defense more than anybody out there. He came with Micah Hyde. I mean, they got Micah Hyde first, and then a week later they signed Jordan Poyer. Soon when Coach McDermott got the job. So here he is. This is another coach out there on the field, and he's pretty much filled into the Micah role on the defense. And he had to switch roles, because he's the veteran. He knows to make the calls on the back end, and obviously Coach Frazier trusts him to be back there rather than having a rookie back there. You got to have, that experience, that veteran leadership out there. And you just saw, you saw that in the Baltimore game. He was able to make plays, being back there, losing coverage, and then recognizing where the open guy is and getting his butt over there and making that play. Only a veteran can do something like that. Only a guy that a coach trusts to know that I know he can make that play is going to be back there. So Jordan Poyer is definitely vital. I know he's dealing with the contract situation, but hey, kudos to him, because if he don't, Bills don't sign him, he definitely earned a bag somewhere else. The way he's playing right now. So that's definitely important, having Poyer back there, especially versus Kansas City. Jordan Poyer baits quarterbacks like no other. So it's good to know that we'll at least have him back there, for this week. I wouldn't know if we would have to be out there with, some inexperienced guys back there with Patrick Mahomes. But it's good to have Poyer back there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be a huge, thing that comes this offseason, whether or not the Buffalo Bills re-sign Jordan Poyer, but a huge acquisition that we got this past offseason was someone we all know as a future first ballot Hall of Famer, Von Miller. And, the value he brings to this team, the value he's already brought to this team, it was, Sean McDermott said it. We need to get 15 on the ground. And that's why you bring in a guy like Von Miller who can do it. And when you have a secondary that allows the pass rushers to have even a little bit more time to keep the ball in the quarterback's hands, your dominant pass rushers like a Von Miller, like like a Gregory Rousseau are going to, have more time to do their work and what they need to do. On the flip side, you look at the Kansas City Chiefs and they lose one of, if not the best wide receiver in the NFL, most certainly the most dangerous weapon in the NFL in a Tyreek Hill. So looking at the value of these players and what they brought or bring to their teams, who is the biggest factor, losing Tyreek Hill or the Bills having Von Miller, Ruben?
This year, you know what? I could actually take both sides on it. I could say losing Tyreek Hill is a big factor because we see them trying to say, "Oh, we don't need Tyreek, and we can pass it around to a bunch of other guys," which he's doing. He's passing the ball around a decent amount, but it's not as explosive as Tyreek Hill. And you take Tyreek Hill off, let's go back. Everybody want to talk about the 13 seconds and stuff like that. You take Tyreek Hill's big play out. And what happens? All right.
You don't get to 13 seconds.
That's what happens. So I think losing him definitely takes some wind out of the Kansas City Chiefs' sails. I think that does, hands down. And I mean, just to add Von Miller to our defense, where a defense now that don't have to commit to, we got Patrick Mahomes, we're going to have to send guys on blitzes and dogs. We got to get linebackers in the coming. We got to get DBs in the coming a lot more than maybe normal. Well, we don't have that problem. You got Von over there, and you can orchestrate some rush or some pressure with 4 guys and then have the back end come and rally to help you out against Mahomes. Because, even though Mahomes makes a lot of, he makes a lot of plays once he's scrambling and stuff like that. And that's because, usually he gets out away from the defensive line. Nobody can track him down. But, I think Von's going to chase him into traffic. He's going to run into traffic because our linebackers, you get out there in space, they could tackle people in space. And this is the thing about Von versus Kansas City. Mahomes is not a big dude. He's got decent size, but he's not Josh Allen. It's a lot easier to put him on the ground than it is to put Josh Allen on the ground. Josh Allen like trying to tackle Ben Roethlisberger.
Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry. You need 2 people. You can't do it alone. But you could do it alone against Mahomes. And you've seen it. And you've seen him get roughed up a little bit. And that's our guy's Von's job. Von clearly is the man for this job. I mean, especially what is their dealing? Their offensive line on the edges, not so good. Up in the gut, they got a better offensive lineman up in the gut. So it's going to be a tough battle up there. But off on the edge, we got that advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. If you take a look at last year's game, Patrick Mahomes ran down the field the first drive. He couldn't get the ball out to his wide receivers. He literally had to scramble down the field the entire drive. Bringing in the Von Miller allows you to contain the edges, along with Gregory Rousseau, both fast, long arms, and know how to work in space. And like Coach Mook said earlier, you got your guys like Jordan Phillips and your Ed Oliver pushing the gap in the middle. Now you have less time. You're more flustered. You can't get out of the pocket. Things look different. And then also on the flip side of this question, in last year's game, Tyreek Hill took over the second half. He had that punt return for a big game. Patrick Mahomes made that play and he ran 60 yards for the touchdown. He also had a catch in the 13 seconds. So I mean, they're both huge factors. Which one is a bigger factor in this one?
I'm gonna say Tyreek Hill is a bigger factor. I mean, because like Ruben said, they got Juju and they got Marquez Valdez-Scantling, but they don't have a home run hitter no more. Tyreek Hill is a home run hitter. Whenever a team come out and score a touchdown to go up, and then the very next play, you just dial it up like right
Yeah,
back at you.
yeah.
Like they can't do that right now. Kansas City can't do that type.
No,
They,
they
like
can't do
Rube
that.
said, they're not explosive enough to line up and do you like that deep now. Without having Tyreek Hill there. So you miss that element, and it's an advantage to the Bills because the Bills do now have Von Miller. So now that time that you thought you had to get it to Tyreek Hill, if he
Man,
was there, is still minimal at best because you got an elite pass rusher coming in after your elite quarterback to stop you elite wide receiver from catching the ball. They don't have an elite wide receiver no more. They have an elite tight end, but they
yeah.
don't have an elite wide receiver. That can get guys fired like Levi Wallace. All right, so you don't have that. So I'm gonna say, not having Tyreek Hill, even though the Bills face Tyreek Hill because we drafted the Kyer Elam for this game again because we thought Tyreek Hill was going to be on Kansas City. So we had to get a cornerback that's big, physical, and can run. We saw him in Miami. We saw what he did against Tyreek. 2 catches, 33 yards. Nobody, again, still talking about that. But this is his first crack against Patrick Mahomes, too. So we're going to see him paired up against Marquez Valdes-Scantling because here he is, taller guy that can run. So that's that matchup. But he's still not Tyreek Hill. So, Von's going to get after the guy. And, it's going to be a different type of pressure for Patrick Mahomes out there today. And
Oh
the
yeah.
O-line is not good as last year. And the secondary is bad. Nobody's talking about that. They just think that Mahomes is going to just shoot it out with Josh and not knowing that he's going to have to face a defense, not Josh Allen.
Absolutely. You mentioned it. I mean, Marquez Valdes-Scantling is probably a couple notches below Tyreek Hill in terms of talent goes, especially speed. So that's a huge part. But just talking about what you mentioned about Kyer Elam, and the Bills drafted him specifically for the Kansas City Chiefs because they need to stop number 15, right? And you also talked about how how Patrick Mahomes is not throwing at his own defense. He's throwing at the number one defense in the NFL. I know everybody want to talk about San Francisco, but they're tied for number one, guys. So they are the number one team in the NFL. Let's get into the fourth quarter. Quarterbacks versus secondaries, right? Kyer Elam comes in. You got your Christian Benford is back. You got your Dane Jackson and Jordan Poyer's back. What Patrick Mahomes is throwing at is completely different than Josh throwing at two unbattle tested rookies who are coming in, and starting for the first time, and they have to now go against the best quarterback in the NFL. Speak to that a little bit, Ruben. What do you think about? Let's start with Pat versus our secondary first, right? What do you think about him throwing at Jordan Poyer and Christian Benford and Kyer Elam and Dane Jackson?
All right. So with the addition of Poyer coming back to play, playing along with these young, talented DBs, it's going to be a desire. This is the recipe this is the ingredient that I'm putting into my gumbo that made me tell everybody this is going to be a blowout. All right, people, our DBs is nice. They nice. They're young, but they're nice. And they're backed up with really good. I mean, Poyer and their experience and that leadership that you need, that senior leadership you need in big games, big situations like this for young players to develop, we got it. They don't have it. All right. And it's enough experience over there in their defense, coaching wise, that has seen enough to have a good system set up for those young players to get the best out of them so they can shine. Whereas, and that ain't happening over on the other side. They have a whole different type of issue and type of plan. We are developing young star DB situation over here with us, opposed to them. That thing they got DBs that they're like, yeah, I hope they get, I hope they gonna be good, and the system continues to get better or something. But they don't have anything to match over for what the Buffalo Bills have. I mean, Leslie Frazier is going to have those young guys ready to go. And for everyone out there that has to know, when the young DBs are hitting the field, they are being coached up big time by the coaches. They are constantly, and the coaches are constantly in their ear about the scheme and where to be and how to be there. And then you take your safeties and guys like Poyer that's going to be out there that know the system also to help reiterate it. We have so much more of an advantage for things to go our way in that form. Mahomes is going to be Mahomes. He's going to throw a sidearm pass somewhere. I hope that Freudian slip I just made pick. I hope that comes true.
No, I caught that.
And I think this is a recipe for a lot of picks. I think these young DBs are going to have a really good day. Really, trust me. It's in my bones. I don't even know why I came out with the blowout thing, but I started adding it up, and I'm like, yo, this is the type of game nobody saw coming, and it's one guy yelling, y'all better go inside. Storm coming. Nobody come inside. All right, here come the storm.
I mean, looking at the matchup on paper, right? X out the name the Kansas City Chiefs and X out the name the Buffalo Bills, right? If you just take these two teams, I mean, the Cowboys are 4-1, but I mean, if the Bills played the Cowboys today, I mean, let's be honest, it'd be a blowout, right?
Yeah.
The name really doesn't matter. Just looking at what the Chiefs have done, they should have lost to the Raiders. They should have lost to the Chargers if Justin Herbert doesn't throw that interception at the goal line. They should have lost they did lose to the Colts, the Colts of all teams. They only scored 17 points on the Indianapolis Colts. And the Buffalo Bills have come out and dominated 4 of the 5 games. And the only one they didn't dominate, they still won that game. Of course, they didn't beat Miami, but they dominated them everywhere that wasn't the scoreboard. Mm-hmm. It just looked like the better football team. And Muki, when you look at what the Kansas City Chiefs have done, you can make the argument, they don't really miss Tyreek Hill that much. However, Patrick Mahomes only has 2 passing touchdowns to wide receivers so far this season. Yeah. Is this the game where we see just how much the Chiefs miss Tyreek Hill?
Yes, because here it is, a guy in Leslie Frazier that knows this defense in and out. I mean, and he knows now he has the players to dominate Kansas City to stop those big plays. I mean, they're in position to stop them, but now Kansas City did the self-infliction on trading away their star player. You can't replace them star players. You may think you can, but you can't replace that. And the Bills' game plan should still be same according to such, but as long as the key is just getting the pressure. The game is won up front, and the key is just getting pressure, forcing Mahomes in third down situation because they can't run the ball. And, in times past, Kansas City has been able to run the ball effectively. So that's one element to look at it. Once if it's 3rd and longs, if it's 3rd and 7s, 3rd and 12s and stuff like that, the Bills is winning, what I mean? Because they're excellent on 3rd down. And we know that Patrick Mahomes we know our defense is going to get stops. We know that the Bills' offense is hard to stop. So that's my deciding factor. Even if the Bills, if the defense get just 2 more stops, we know those 2 more scores for the Bills.
Boy.
So I don't see this game being close. And again, if teams want to crown their asses, go ahead and crown their asses because they are who we think they are. And we're going to expose that today at 4:30. But keep in mind, everybody, Patrick Mahomes only has 1 damn Super Bowl. Y'all acting like the man got 5, 6, 7. He's not. Stop talking about him in the breath like he's Tom Brady right now. You know what I mean? He has 1 damn Super Bowl. And if Josh do what they supposed to do, Josh and the Buffalo Bills, then they're going to be dead even. And then what's the talk going to be about now? You know, because that's the only thing that's the difference between the two is 2 trophies. You know what I mean? That's the only thing that's different between Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes right now is 2 trophies in the ring. You know what I mean? And, Josh is on path for that. So we'll see. I mean, their secondary isn't good. Kansas City secondary, no Trent, no Felton, who got torched anyway last year. He's not non-factor anyway, but he's not playing. And then you got Trent McDuffie, who you drafted, not playing. Really? And y'all think that Kansas City is just gonna just stop this high-powered offense with those guys? When it came to the Bills, they was talking about how young and inexperienced the Bills secondary was. You're not even hearing that chatter
All
about
right,
Kansas
Mook.
City.
Somebody made Mookie mad.
I'm just
Man,
saying
got
though.
Mookie hot, man.
You know what I mean?
I
They're
love
not
it.
talking about Josh Allen going up against who are these guys on Kansas City secondary that nobody's talking about. Like Kansas City got a top defense and all of that.
Yo,
Nobody's talking about that. They just talk about Patrick
yo,
Mahomes and he's so
yo,
magical, and
you
they're not
you
talking
are
about that.
doing Mookie, you doing the 100% Buffalo thing. Buffalo people nice as
Man,
hell, but they be mad. The way they be mad and yelling at you ain't always like what rest of parts of the country.
man, this is
you
Believe
just
in
you
Bills. And if
just
you
did
don't
it right
believe what
there.
I'm
Everybody can
saying,
see.
hey, you're gonna see at 425. Like that's just it. That's just how it is. I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it. You know what I mean? And we putting them to bed in Arrowhead at 425. Man. I'm tired of it. You want to crown the asses? Crown the asses.
You know what? You bring up a good point because I see a lot nowadays where people are comparing career stats between Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, and obviously that's not fair. But you want to swing it into the favor of Patrick Mahomes, obviously doing stuff like that. And you talk about how Pat has a Super Bowl MVP, and an MVP. Well, they've been doing this. This is both their 5th year starting. And if Josh does what he's supposed to do today, he will have caught up to Patrick Mahomes in all 3 phases: a MVP, a Super Bowl, as well as a Super Bowl MVP. So the fact that Pat had 2 extra years of contention, more than Josh, because Josh's first 2 years, they weren't really, championship. Right. So that says a lot. It does. Pat has been to 5 AFC championship games or whatever. That says even more. You've been to 5 of them and you couldn't. You know what I mean? So
and
now,
exactly.
you look at it.
Listen, you can flip that coin on either side. On one side, they can make a big stink how great Mahomes is. You flip that coin on the other side and be like, yo, wait a minute. Didn't y'all fire Marty Schottenheimer because he kept going to the playoffs and not winning the playoffs? All right. So we could go back and forth all day. That's the fun part of it.
Yeah, that was the stupidest firing I've ever seen.
Yeah,
I was really young at the time, but I was really dumb. But all right, so Muki was talking about it a little bit earlier. This is the first time that the Bills have been the better team in the trenches when they faced off, right? The first couple years, I mean, it wasn't even close. Like, they were dominating our offensive line. They were dominating our defensive line. It was all bad. The last year was a little more even. Now, I think it swings the other way completely, and I think the Bills are better on both ends of the spectrum. Tell me a little bit about what the trenches play is going to look like today.
Well, I mean, we don't know if Frank Clark is going to suit up. He's been dealing with some injuries. I mean, once again, their big bad bully is Chris Jones. And we know how he's done Bills offensive linemen in the past 2 years. Pretty much punked off John Feliciano and the rest of those guys. Well, I can't say Deion Dawkins, but we got Roger Saffold for all of that now. You know what I'm saying? He's playing in that Ruben Brown spot over there, left guard. And we're going to see when he lines up over there what's going to happen. Now, if you start seeing Chris slide over there to that right side over there against Bates and Brown, then we know that he don't want no smoke with Roger Saffold over there on that left side. Another Pro Bowl guard that the Bills brought in for games like this. You know what I mean? So they understand that this thing is won up front, and they didn't spend a lot of the church's money going different ways that didn't pan out for them. So if you're going to spend your money, you get what you pay for. So they go and get the best in Roger Saffold. You're going to get the best in Von Miller. 2 of the best of the game that's going to help control your offensive line and your defensive line. You see the Bills with the continuity, you know what I mean? So that carries over in ball games. That actually win you ball games, that continuity piece. And, with the familiarity that they have on the defensive front, you mean to tell me the only guy that we got to bring up to speed is Von Miller? Are you kidding me? I mean, Jordan Phillips back, he knows the scheme. You got Daquan Jones, who looks like he's been in the scheme forever. Tim Settle, Ed Oliver, Greg Rousseau, Espinoza, Boogie Basham. I mean, the list goes on. The Bills have one of the best defensive fronts in the NFL. And, hey, their offensive line ain't that bad neither. They're keeping Josh clean. But, We want to see him in the run game, and I know those guys can't wait for that to happen. But hey, right now, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know, and Josh is picking teams apart.
Speaking of being good and better in the trenches on the defensive line as well as the offensive line, they are keeping Josh clean that they had a problem with last year. Ruben, you know as good as anyone, better than anyone really, how much the trenches affect the football game.
Mm-hmm.
How important is it for a team that wants to be dominant, that wants to win, to control the trenches?
You know, they've been getting better each week on both sides. The defensive line got off to a really good start to the season. The offensive line, via injury and things, they kind of, have to shuffle people in. But they've been fortunate that the guys that they shuffled in have held up. There's some bonding happening over there on the left side with Dawkins and Sappho. They're very formidable. The opponents that they're facing aren't easily mixing them up and stunting and penetrating the offensive line, which really messes up a whole lot. So the O-line overall has been a bright spot, an unsung bright spot to the Buffalo Bills' success, because even though there's not much of a run game, you got to say, they've been keeping Josh relatively clean. Other than going down to Miami, there was some pressure and things, and people are trying to talk about getting pressure to Josh. That goes both sides of the ball. Everybody's trying to get pressure on everybody. So that's no big deal. But over the course of the season, so up to now, it looks like each game the Bills' offensive line gets a little better. I mean, I've noticed that. At first, I was like, people asked me about the Bills' O-line. I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, they all right. Yeah, I don't want to say nothing bad. I don't want to be too critical, because I'm like, they still got some more time, And 5 games in, going into 6, I'm way more confident in them now. And I think that's because of the competition they practice against over on the other side, and Vaughn came in. What is it? Rising tide raises all boats, right? Vaughn is that rising tide that raises all the other boats start rising now. The D-line's performing better, and the D-line practice against the O-line. The O-line has tough competition on a daily basis, which makes it easier for them to go into game situations, because, all right, we don't practice against tough people. Y'all can't be much tougher. We practice against probably one top 2-3 defenses in the NFL. So you're going to have a really good chance, not unless your offensive line players individually just totally stink, which we're fortunate. We got some solid ballers.
Ruben, hold on real quick. I have a question for you. How much of the improvement of the offensive line is the offensive line getting better? I mean, that's undeniable. They had stints of last season where they just weren't good at all, right? How much of it is the offensive line getting better or being a good offensive line versus Josh Allen being a magical unicorn that can run past defensive ends and shrug off defensive tackles?
All right, there you go. This is a good question, Justus, because it's a combination of both. There's a huge part of Josh being great that once again, rising tide, all boats rise. So Josh is so good, just like over on defense, improving the play of the players around them. Same thing over there on offense, especially when Josh is able to scramble away from pressure and get away from mistakes and mishaps and things like that. So that's helping them. And also Josh helping them with not putting so much pressure on them. This is a mistake all teams make. They put too much pressure on the offensive line themselves, just solely offensive line protect the quarterback, when it does not work that way. It's a group of people that do it, because there's only 5 linemen. And most teams send 5 to 6 people after the quarterback. So it's always one more than you have to block is the problem in pass protection. So how you going to help your offensive line if you got that situation? And a lot of people just don't know this fact about offensive line and blocking. They could block up everybody on the defense, and they still give up a sack. And where does that sack come from? That's the other guys. That's the receiver turning around, reading the hot route. That's the quarterback knowing where the guy coming from, where he got to throw. That's the running back coming up and picking up the right guy, the extra guy. All of those
tight
things.
end, chip blocking.
There you go. All of those things. That's where sacks come from. Sacks don't come from just straight up. It's times in a game when it's one-on-one and guy beats you one-on-one. All right, that happens. Well, it's NFL. You're gonna see that. You know what I mean? But the other factors, other play of the rest of the team around it also contributes to the line getting better. And now the line's getting better because these guys are reading the hots and turning around. The running back is coming up in there and chipping. The tight end is chipping in the right place. So the lineman can be in a place to help Josh step up in the pocket or find a gap to run a hole to run through to gain yards, stuff like that. So, you see I'm real passionate about it because I'm playing. I would always hate people be like, "Oh, y'all, the offensive line's terrible. Y'all gave up this." I'm like, they know we don't block all them dudes. That's the 7th guy coming. We can't block him. The 7th guy. Well, I can't block the 7th guy. That's the receivers in the quarterback's job now. The quarterback's getting hit too much. It's a hitting game, So, but Josh is doing a great job of elevating the play, and this is a very fortunate thing for a young offensive lineman like Spencer Brown. So I've seen his struggles from time to time, but being able to play with this team is going to help him be able to develop in his maturity as an offensive lineman.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Trenches are going to be huge in this game, and the Bills are improved on both sides of the ball. And we'll see how they fare against who is supposed to be the team of the AFC, the top team or whatever. Even though they lost to the Bengals, we know the Bengals ain't nothing special. So we'll see if the Chiefs can hang with the Buffalo Bills. So, all right, we're going to get into the kneel down guys. And you know what that means. We have a moment with the man himself, Muki Hawkins. What's on your mind today, Coach?
13 seconds is on my mind. 13 damn seconds. 13 seconds. We're going to get our revenge. We're going to do away with Kansas City. And if they want to see us in Buffalo, in the playoffs, they got to come to Buffalo. So let our fans, participate in this, because last time they came here, it's during COVID, no fans, right? Seems like we be in Kansas City all the damn time. And guess what? We're going back to Kansas City next year, from what I was told. So, got to have home field advantage. This is a important game. This is for home field advantage. With that loss to Miami, pretty much even things out now as far as that driver's seat, because we'll see Miami down the line to handle that. But to get a quality win versus Baltimore and Kansas City in the same year, and when everybody look at those two games as literally L's for the Bills, right? Normally those would be 2 L's, but now the Bills are in the driver's seat, controlling their own destiny, stacking another dub against one of the best teams in the conference. And then, once again, they control their destiny. They'll see Cincinnati down the line. They'll see the Jets, New England twice, and, obviously against Miami. So they just got to lock in today. I want to see the Bills just continue to do what they've been doing. Treat Kansas City just like, they're the Rams or they're Baltimore or the Steelers. Go out there and have that mindset and just destroy your opponent, because we know their cornerbacks cannot check Stephon Diggs. We know their cornerbacks cannot check Gabriel Davis. We know their offensive line is not that good, so that favors our offensive line. I mean, our defensive line. So it's just too many ways that I see that we're better than Kansas City to the point where this game really shouldn't be close. So I'm gonna go out and say Bills 38. They're normal. They normal. They average somewhere around there, just about. Kansas City 29.
Okay, all right.
All
You
right.
got the Chiefs scoring more points than I got them scoring, so that's all right. I got you.
I give
Also,
him credit. I give Mahomes some garbage time minutes. Like
oh, that's true.
he's gonna push that envelope. You know what I mean, and make
Yeah,
it respectable. You know what I mean, towards the end.
that's a fair assessment. I actually agree with that. I do want to point out one thing, though. I think it's pretty funny. The 13 seconds, all that whole ordeal. When they played the Bengals the next game, went into overtime, Patrick Mahomes threw the interception with 14 minutes and
Thank
47
you.
seconds on the clock. It
Thank
was
you.
Right.
13 seconds into
Yeah,
overtime. So
yeah,
I
yeah.
thought that was pretty funny. But next up, we got the Hall of Fame, Mr. Wall of Fame himself, legendary offensive lineman, Bills legend, Ruben Brown, the Ruben's Rundown. What's on your mind today, Rube?
Well, what's on my mind is this blowout that's about to happen. you know, and I've said before on here that I'm not a guy that does predictions. I'm not a bettor. I don't even know how this stuff works. But I watch the games and I see and try to judge the momentum and the makeup of the team and see how they're executing plays and who's in, who's out, and all these different factors, and use what I have from my playing days to give myself like, all right, I think these guys going to have the edge. And when I did this leading up to the Kansas City game, every box was checked for me. Can Josh Allen facing a suspect DB core. Check. Okay, that can lead to trouble. Um, you know, Josh Allen is throwing the ball to like everybody on the team. Everybody on the team's got like on pace to get 1,000 yards. Okay. All right. You know, um, team in general, all the unhealthy players are slowly coming back. They got more on the off the injured list than on the injured list. Check, right? Core of the team is starting to build and everything. Uh, they had a rugged loss that puts a chip on their shoulder for the season. I checked that box. And then I add in the factors of how well the defense is playing this year compared to what they played in the past. And I also check another box where I say, all right, the opponent they're going to face. Kansas City can move the ball and score, like you said, Mook, 29 points possibly. But here's the difference in this go around and why I'm thinking blowout. It's because before they had the ability to score exactly like the Buffalo Bills, right? Now they don't. They're a good, formidable team that can drive the ball on the Bills and put themselves into field goal position. This year, it ain't a field goal situation. They're going to need TDs. And the defense is way better this year. And they are not going to score as many TDs as the Buffalo Bills. Hands down, Buffalo Bills are scoring touchdowns right now as I speak. They score in their sleep. They score not even trying. I'm still begging them to run the ball and score, but they just they can't help it. They dropping bombs. So this just all adds up in a way where I people got their favorites. They the Mahomes and Chiefs won a Super Bowl and he's been MVP. Yeah, that's the past. That's all the past. Because today, right now, in the present, is the Buffalo Bills. So I'm predicting a blowout, and I don't have any numbers for you. I'm just saying the Bills are going to be in command of this game from beginning to end. It will not be a barn burner, like a nail biter like in the past. It's just not going to happen.
Ain't coming down to 13 seconds today.
Yeah, the 13 seconds, they're going to be kneeling down. I'm telling you that. That's what's going to happen in the 13 seconds. And, guys, I'm going to tell y'all, let y'all in on the little insight. There's nothing more hurtful than you look across at the field and you see team kneeling down. That means you got beat down. Kneel down means I don't even get the chance to try to get closer. Nope. We about to take the ball, we get on the bus, and we out of here. So that's my rundown, fellas. I'm excited. You can tell I'm Bills down. I don't even usually wear my team stuff. I try to keep it low key and everything, man. But they got me. I'm the old guy now, and the old guy's happy to see the team, doing well. And I'm excited for him, man. I really am. I couldn't be more happy because Buffalo is in the conversation. I love when Buffalo in the conversation. It gets under people's skin. I'm that type of dude. I won't get under your skin.
All right, it's contagious.
Absolutely. All right. So, last but not least, of course, we have a general rule. This is my section, and I just want to talk about Josh Allen for a little bit. Since his rookie season, since Bills fans, we've seen him do certain things, and we were like, wow, okay, this kid's pretty special. Like he has some of the tools to do special things, and people were saying, oh no, you're wrong, you're just homers. He's not going to be good. He's overthrowing people. Blah blah blah. Right. Second year. Even when he had 0 interceptions through like 9 weeks or something like that. And, that turnover bug wasn't really biting him. And people were just like, oh, no, he's still inaccurate. He's still not a good quarterback. Third year, he is the best quarterback through the first 5 or 6 weeks, him and Russell Wilson. And they just gave the nod to Russell Wilson because Josh Allen was going to fall off at some point, right? And then I honestly think that is the only reason he didn't win MVP that season over Aaron Rodgers. It was because of narrative. Right. And then, fourth season, he doesn't compare to Patrick Mahomes and all this. Long story short, Josh Allen has shown superstar qualities since he has stepped on an NFL football field. LaShawn McCoy even said it. That kid's going to be special, right? And when I look at it, what Josh has been able to do today, he has 16 total touchdowns. That's more than 25 other NFL teams, right? He has more passing yards than anyone else in the NFL by roughly 150 yards right now, right? And the Chiefs are the number 1 points per game, but that's a fake stat because everybody else has played 20 quarters, 5 games, 4 quarters. The Bills have only played in 17 and a half quarters this season.
Mm-hmm.
Josh could easily be up 1,000 passing yards on some teams right now, right? He had 350 yards in the first half of the Pittsburgh game. He could have had 600 if he wanted to.
Easy.
So when you look at these numbers, they're as gaudy as they are, they're not even close to what they could be, guys. We have to put into context just how dominant the Buffalo Bills are playing. And I don't think people are doing that. When I see people have the Chiefs over the Bills in their power rankings, it makes no sense to me. Like, you lost to the Colts, and you got beat by the Colts. We lost to the Dolphins, but we beat the Dolphins, if you see what I'm saying.
The Dolphins are a better team than the Colts.
And the Dolphins are a better team than the Colts. And every other game, we played a great Ravens team. We came down to the wire, but we won that one. Every other game, no contest. So, when Ruben and Muki says things like, oh, it's going to be a blowout, if you're watching the games, then I honestly don't see how you come to a different conclusion. So with that being said, we will see what happens. Muki, you want to send us out?
Let's go, Buffalo.
Bills down Kansas City. Now, do you believe?
I'm ready. Come on.
Bet Online is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports contests and events with first to market odds and lines. Now, find reviews and news for every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. Bet Online continues to be the top online resource for all sports information from live in-game betting props and futures. Head to Bet Online today or use your mobile device to join today and make your first sports bet. Now, use our promo code BLEAV50 to receive your 50%. Welcome your bonus on your first deposit. Now, Bet Online is where